everyone, welcome to Reading with Eve. Let's get on with another video. Today we are doing something just a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about my top 20 sitcoms, ranking them from the 20th spot to number 1 spot. I'm not going to go into like massive detail because otherwise we'd be here for hours. It is just a small sort of a video to talk about why I love certain sitcoms and what about their humor appeals to me. So without any further ado, let's get on with it. Number 20 is Seinfeld. It is, I believe, 80s to 90s sitcom starring Jerry Seinfeld, and it features a group of friends who, well, the joke about this sitcom is that it's about nothing. It's literally just these people living their lives in New York, and I believe it was set in New York. Sorry if I'm wrong, because I've only seen it once, and I've not really paid much attention to the latest seasons because it was more like background noise because we were busy doing other stuff. So I might be wrong. I mean, why is it in my top 20? Well, to be fair, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was running out of spots because I wanted it to be a 20, but a couple of others weren't options to add here. So, yeah, but what I remember of it, I really did enjoy. Was good fun. It's definitely like older sort of humor that a lot of it hasn't particularly aged well, but it's like a whole other problem that we need to acknowledge in terms of, you know, what is television, you know, aging of certain gags and, you know, what's okay, what's not okay. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, it was just good fun. I mean, I often questioned, why do these people hang out with each other? They seem to hate each other, sort of thing. So ultimately I was like, okay, this is interesting. I mean, did I quite understand why it's such a classic and why it's so revered? Because people say it's like the Friends of the 80s. I mean, no, I wouldn't say so, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? Again, it's just good fun. It made me laugh. Did make me laugh, sorry. So yeah, would I recommend it? I mean, if you have nothing else to watch and you're interested, sure, but like, I wouldn't say that it's like an all-time, like, number 1 favorite. We'll get to that. So then number 19 is The Office, the US version. I admit I have never seen the UK version. And again, it's one of those sitcoms where I understand why it's popular, but do I understand why it's so popular? Not necessarily, I would say, because it starts out really stilted. The first season is a bit crap, if I'm honest, because it tries too hard to be the UK version when it should just embrace what it is and be, you know, find its own ground, which I understand it can take some time. You know, television, especially like remakes from overseas, different cultures and stuff, it can take a while to, you know, get sorted. But it doesn't change the fact that the first season and parts of season 2 are very hard to watch and very cringy. And then the show kind of like kicks into gear and gains its own momentum by season 3. So then the middle of it, like seasons 3 to 5 is really fun. And then it sort of slowly starts declining. And then obviously we get departure of the main character, and the show just doesn't really work the same way. I don't know why these shows think that they can just write the main character out and it will have no effect on the show. I mean, we obviously have the iconic Jim and Pam couple from this show. That is one of my favorite couples, but I don't love them as much as I love other couples from sitcom or not. So like, they're not in the top 20 or anything, but I do love them. They are somewhere in the upper scale of like my top 200 or whatever. I have a lot of ships, okay? And yeah, the whole parkour scene where there's like cats going up the ceiling or something, that fake smoke alarm or whatever that Dwight sets up, I mean, that I probably have never laughed harder at a television show, so that's an achievement. But like, I didn't care for a lot of the characters and their dynamics. I was more just there for like the joke itself, but I feel like if I couldn't fully invest in these characters, then it won't have like the same longevity for me as some of the other ones that are on the list. So that's that. Married with Children, which is, I believe, 87 to 97 sitcom. It had 11 seasons, starring Ed O'Neill, Christina Applegate. It's well, the title speaks for itself. You follow a shoe salesman, Al, who is very disappointed with his failed quarterback career. That really was never gonna be what it was, and he lives with his wife and kids, and he detests them. It's the satire of the whole trope, husband resents his wife and sees her as a ball and chain sort of thing, but it's like amped up to 1,000 because you have Peggy, who she is the antithesis of a loving wife. She never cooks, leaves cigarette butts lying around, doesn't work, doesn't clean, just hates her kids. Like, nothing maternal about this woman whatsoever. And then you have the kids, who are peculiar. And there's also a dog for a while, so that's great. But yeah, it is definitely a fun show that pokes fun at those, family idealist dynamics and stereotypes. But it's not, like, at the top of the list because it did run on very long. I think 11 seasons is quite long for a sitcom. And it got, after a certain point, especially when I was rewatching it, it got to the point where I was just like, okay, they're being too mean to each other now. I'm getting a bit bored of it. So I don't think I actually finished my rewatch. I think that I would watch certain, like, episodes, or I would just, like, if it came on television, I wouldn't, turn it off. But I'm not sure if I would necessarily rewatch the whole thing again. I don't know. We'll see. But I still really enjoyed what I watched when I watched it. Then number 17 is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So this is actually a magical sitcom about a girl who wakes up on her 16th birthday to find out that she's a witch. And I think that it's quite interesting. It is definitely like a follow-up of Bewitched, the 60s sitcom. It was in the 60s, I believe. And I think, well, it did make this list, but I did find it quite enjoyable at times. But as far as this one goes, it is just a fun shenanigan, lots of, like, coming of age, because this girl is trying to navigate school, navigate growing up, with all these people and teachers and boyfriends, all of that stuff, except obviously there is magic to it. And I thought for a sitcom, the magic lore was actually really interesting and well thought out. It did have a lot of those sitcom logic things, where characters just disappear, or where now someone gets recast and there's no thought behind it. There's, like, lots of stuff, considering they were going to write Harvey off after high school seasons, but the fans' outroar demanded them to rehire the actor and fix that storyline. Yeah, obviously a lot of it is just sitcom continuity. Like, a lot of the time they just don't care. They will write this out for jokes and all that, but they don't care that much to, bring extra care or effort into the storyline. So this definitely fell victim into that. Fell victim to it. That's the word. But overall, I still really enjoyed it. It was just good fun. Definitely corny at times, but I mean, what can you expect when you have, like, a talking cat plushie, basically? But it's fun. It's a good time. Then number 16 is The Good Place. It is starring Kirsten Bell, and features a woman who dies in the first few minutes of the show and is what she believes to be the good place. But stuff is weird. Like, she thinks that she took someone else's place, and then more weird things start happening. For a sitcom, there are a lot of plot twists here, and there's also a lot of interesting commentary about human nature. Can humans change? Can they grow from their behavior? Can they be good? There's lots of food for thought there. Let's just say that. It has a lovely relationship with Eleanor and Chidi. I love Michael's character. Jason is some of the best comic relief ever. I just didn't love all the resets. Like, I because obviously we as the audience know what's happening a lot of the time. So like a bit of a pet peeve of mine is when the writers of any media or book or whatever rely too much on the trope of erasing memories and all that, because we as the audience or as readers already know what's happening. So to watch the characters catch up, it can get a bit daunting. So that's why it didn't quite make like the top 10 or top 15 and whatnot, because I just got a bit fed up with it as the show went along. But I'm glad that it didn't overstay its welcome. I think 4 seasons was more than enough to tell the story that they wanted to tell, and I thought it had a very beautiful ending. Now on to our number 15. So number 15 is The IT Crowd, and it is a British show about, the IT department of a company, and 2 nerds who are managing it. And it is some of the most British humor that I've ever seen. I mean, my fiance works in IT, and he said this is the most accurate thing ever, and it's terrifying. But yeah, it's just good fun. I think it's definitely not the sort of show that I think about often, in a sense, like, I'm not super invested in like a bunch of character storylines or whatever, because it's not that sort of show. You just watch it, you laugh, and you're done with it. But it is really funny, and I had a good time with it. Number 14 is 30 Rock, and it is actually like kind of a satire show starring Tina Fey, Alec Baldwin, and it is a parody of like Saturday Night Live segments, but we don't actually really see the show. We just see their behind the scenes, like prepping for a show and all that. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was first watching this, the first few episodes, I was very skeptical. I was like, what are they gonna do? That is such a weird concept. But I ended up really, really loving it. I mean, it was just some of the weirdest humor, the weirdest characters that just somehow seemed to work together. And even if I wasn't like the most invested in certain storylines, it was still good fun. That was until the last literally 5 seconds of the show. Like the last literally like minuscule scene, I was like, what the fuck was that? No spoilers, of course, but if you know, you know. So that definitely tainted it a bit, but I'd probably watch it again. Then I have number 13, which is Two Broke Girls. This is about, 2 girls who are broke, and they are they're founding a cupcake business together, and one of them is a former rich girl fallen from grace because her daddy is in prison, and the other one has been poor her whole life, so she kind of like shows her the ropes and all that. So basically, this one I'm a little conflicted about, because I don't see myself rewatching it in full, just because it gets a bit too contrived for what the concept is. I think they kind of just stop being broke girls, and they just sort of become like girls. There's like Hollywood segments and all that, and I'm just thinking, this is a bit much. But like the first couple seasons or so, I thought they were brilliant, and they were just such good fun. I mean, I would definitely rewatch parts of it, but like, I'm glad where the characters ended up and whatnot. I thought that some storylines, they were a bit ridiculous. So that kind of had me like, what is happening? Like raising my eyebrows sort of thing. So, you know. Then I have number 12, which is Superstore, starring America Ferrera. Sorry, I can't remember her last name on the spot, and I'm filming on my phone, so, you know, good times. But this is kind of like, again, a sort of a parody look into retail workers. So it follows people who work in this massive chain store. It's called Cloud9, but obviously it's like fictionalized, so, you know, you can put your, like, you know, you can think Walmart or Target, whatever, like whatever you want, like it's probably going to be correct. And it's just it follows Amy, who is super jaded. She's like, I think she's like the floor manager or something, I don't know, but she's like very like, I've only seen it once and it was like 4 years ago, but she's very just cynical and negative and whatnot. And then the show starts when this guy Jonah comes into the team, and he has this sort of like youthful positivity around him, and obviously they're like the main couple and they're super sweet. Like, he definitely balances her out because she can be sometimes a bit hard to watch with like her constant cynicism. And then you have some other characters like Garrett. I love Garrett. What is her name? Like, how to pronounce Cheyenne. That's how you pronounce her name. She's played by the actress who plays Emily in the game Until Dawn, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. So I love her character. She's such good fun. Dana can be a bit much sometimes, but when she's funny, she's really funny. But it also offers some interesting commentary as far as like corporate goes, because some stuff happens that kind of like teeters a bit away from the sitcom, and like it's trying to tell you stuff about real life as well, but it doesn't do it in like a forced commentary sort of way. Oh, look, we're woke, we're talking about this stuff, you know, and it's nothing like that. It is actually really well thought out. And again, do I think they should have tried to continue the show without America? No. No, they shouldn't have. Because, I mean, she was the show, and there were some plot points that I didn't necessarily love, like making her pregnant with her ex-husband's child. I thought that was a bit meh. But, you know, it is what it is there. Ultimately, again, great time. I would definitely rewatch it again, and I know I will at some point pretty soon. My number 11 is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it is probably one of the most offensive pieces of television that I've ever witnessed with my eyes, and it's fantastic. It follows four friends and one of their dads who just tags along, played by amazing Danny DeVito, and they own this Irish pub in Philly, and the show just follows them being absolutely horrible scums of the earth people, and it's fucking fantastic. The only reason it didn't make the top 10 was because I just have a bit stronger emotional attachments to some of the other shows on there, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. It was just, I mean, it's so offensive, but in that offensiveness, it actually tells you something important. I feel like the writing is genuinely brilliant, and the way that these actors portray these scummy people, and you just know from what I heard, they're actually like the sweetest possible people in real life, to their fans at least. Yeah, it's just fantastic. Like, I love it. I still need to watch the latest season, but we will get to that. I will say, like, the season 16, the last one that I've seen, it was definitely noticeably weaker, but I mean, come on. Season 16, this show has been airing for 16, 17 years. The fact that it just now started running out of steam is pretty fantastic. And now we are in the top 10. So this top 10 top 10 spot is Modern Family, and it is a show starring, again, Ed O'Neill. Like, he really secured himself 20 plus years of solid employment. Sofia Vergara, I keep forgetting names, Ariel Winter, Sarah Hyland. They star as an unconventional, again, modern family. You have the man who is Jay, who's played by Ed O'Neill, with a subverted second wife gold digger stereotype, because he has a wife, Gloria, and her son Manny, and Gloria genuinely loves and adores him, and they're my favorite relationship in the whole show. Then you have Cam and Mitchell. They are a gay couple who have an adopted daughter, Lily, and they're super dramatic and hilarious. And then you have that American dream nuclear family in Claire and Phil, who have 3 children and live in a beautiful home, but their kids are crazy in their own special ways. It is definitely a fun look at lots of like family dynamics and lots of different like sociological and economical and like all of relationship things. It looks into stuff without being like too on the nose. I would say it's just, again, it's just good fun, but it's definitely one of the most heartwarming shows on this list. It really brings down the point that no matter what, whether it's like blood or whether it's found family and all that, it's really important to have people in your life to be there for you. And if you have those connections, don't let them go. Cherish them with all you have. Like, I thought that message was conveyed throughout the entire show really well. And, it talks about parenthood, and it allows for parents to not be perfect all the time, which is really refreshing. It's just a really good show. It is long. It is definitely a commitment, and I'm not gonna lie, the later seasons, they do definitely noticeably run out of steam, but ultimately I enjoyed where it ended up for people. So, for the most part. So, that's that on that one. Then my number 9 is New Girl, which I do want to rewatch pretty soon, and it is about Jess, who is like your subversion of like a manic pixie dream girl. She's like that character that would be like a side character or a footnote in someone's story being the main character. She breaks up with her boyfriend and moves in with 3 guys. If this were a horror movie, she'd be dead already. But this is a sitcom, so they become best friends. Some get together in relationships. There's also Cece, her best friend, who is a model, and she also gets into some shenanigans with this group. Again, it's very like, it's basically Friends for the new generation. It shows what life is like, or should I say what life was like 10, 15 years ago for the generation. Like, there are people in their mid to late 20s, early 30s, showing how things have changed, but showing how you can still retain some sort of hope and optimism as long as you do have some people to go through it with you. And I just really enjoy these characters and their dynamics. There were definitely some dips in quality towards the end, but unfortunately that's what happens with a lot of shows. So, I'm not gonna judge too harshly, but yeah, it's just a really funny show, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again soon. Number 8 is Boy Meets World. It stars Ben Savage, Ryder Strong, William Daniels, and it follows Corey Matthews as he is 11 years old, and it follows him right through his adulthood, like college years, and it's just literally him getting into these coming-of-age scenarios of, school, relationships, friendships, popularity, money, jobs, all of the stuff really that we encounter as teenagers in a very realistic way, as realistic as television can be. And, I'm not gonna lie, this is the sort of show where all the other characters are my favorite. Sean Hunter, Eric Matthews, Mr. Feeney, they're some of my favorite characters ever. I genuinely love their dynamics with each other, and honestly, that show has such heart and such warmth without being too cheesy or too for kids. Not that there's anything wrong with having a show specifically for kids, but I like that it seemed to mature with its audience, and I could really appreciate that. It was definitely a show that allowed you to feel grown up while still feeling young, sort of thing, because I feel like today's television really toddlers it down for teenagers, but that's a whole other topic. The number 7 is Parks and Recreation. It stars Aubrey Plaza, Chris Pratt. I'm just listing characters, like actors that I can remember on top of my head being in that show. But, obviously that's not a consecutive list of them. And it is about a government team who are responsible for a small town Pawnee's Parks Department. And you have Leslie Knope, who is like super patriotic into the whole shebang. And then you have other characters like Ron Swanson, who is my absolute hero, who does not give less of a fuck about anything, and he wants to privatize everything, and he hides from people who want to meet him because he does not care about their problems. April Ludgate is kind of like his protege in attitude, and then you also have other characters like Ben, who becomes Leslie's love interest. It's just such a beautiful show, and I just love the relationships. Like, most of the relationships on the show are pretty amazing and well developed for a sitcom. I mean, they really put their spin on the whole found family aspect as well, and how people treat their jobs and whatnot, all that hustle culture. But yeah, definitely the first season is kind of a bit unwatchable. And then I think it actually takes the show till season 3 to really find its roots and get into gear. And then again, season 7 I think also starts out pretty weak, but then has a really strong finish for the rest of the for all the characters, I should say. And yeah, I've rewatched it relatively recently in the past year, but I'm definitely gonna rewatch it again at some point because it's just a grand good time. And then I have Malcolm in the Middle at my number 6. It is starring Frankie Muniz, Bryan Cranston, is that his name? You know, the Breaking Bad guy, apparently. I mean, that's just these are his 2 most famous roles, I think, which could not be more different from each other. I'm gonna start watching Breaking Bad for the first time soon, so that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, basically, this is like, again, kind of like a black humor look into, like a lower middle class family. You have a husband, wife, and 3 kids, and again, it's just so hilarious seeing them get into these shenanigans, and you also see how under all of this antagonizing and all the mess and neglect and everything, there's genuine love underneath, and I really enjoy seeing, like, characters, again, not being perfect parents, not gushing over, you know, random crap and trying to turn everything into this toxic cycle of toxic positivity. You know, sometimes it's okay to just say something sucks, but yeah, it's a really fun show. Again, it starts when Malcolm is like 10, because he's the gifted kid who feels like he doesn't fit in with his family, but he's a bit of an idiot in other ways. So it starts when he's 10, and the show ends when he is finished with high school, starting university. And that's when the show ends. So, again, we grow up with the cast pretty much, like the kid actors. They are very young when the show starts, so we grow up with them. But the show doesn't ever really feel childish. It definitely has a more adult feeling. It's more like an adult sitcom with kids being half the main cast as opposed to the other way around. But it is it's such good fun. Another one that I'm definitely gonna rewatch pretty soon. And now we are on to our top 5. Well, my top 5, I should say. So top 5, number 5 is The In-Betweeners. It is a British sitcom. Well, it's not really called a sitcom, I don't think, but a comedy show. Essentially, it is about 4 teenage boys who just get into all the weirdest shenanigans and never get laid, basically. It's just a bit of a look into their lives sort of thing. And they are just, honestly, the most accurate portrayal of teenage boys that I've ever seen anywhere in any bit of television. And honestly, it's some of the funniest stuff that I've ever seen ever in any fiction, and I've seen it 10 times now without exaggeration, and it makes me laugh every single time, and I will definitely be seeing it again, no doubt about that, multiple times. It's just so fun, and amidst all the offensive humor and all the messiness, it still manages to have heart and actual real friendship in a very realistic way, and I think that's great. Then I have number 4, and that is Friends. Of course, it had to make this list, didn't it? So, I mean, everyone knows what Friends is, even if you haven't seen it, or if you think it's crap, you still know what it is. It's just a group of 6 people in their 20s trying to figure life out, and although over the 10 seasons, the quality definitely goes down. I think it's a sitcom that has one of the most satisfying endings for the characters. It is a beautiful journey for them to enter adulthood, like real adulthood, where they don't feel like they're still children trying to figure stuff out and running around like crazy. And, you know, knowing that they were able to achieve that and become better versions of themselves by having these people together. It's definitely an older sort of sitcom in a way that you can sense that 90s optimism oozing through. And yeah, there's like lots of jokes and all that aren't landing well today. That's another thing, you know, but you know, it has also plenty of heartwarming moments, and there are some dramatic moments as well, and some plot twists and everything. So yeah, it is a classic, and whether or not you like it, you have to admit that it has a longevity status in TV history that is not going to be touched. Then my number 3 is Scrubs. So this one is a little different because technically it's a comedy drama, and it features a group of people who are doing residency at a hospital. Some of them are already like established doctors and all that, but there's lots of like mentorship relationships, lots of commentary like doctors versus nurses, doctors versus surgeons sort of thing. But it features one of the best male friendships of all time on television. It features some of my favorite characters, and others that I don't love so much, but it's just so perfect in the way that it makes you laugh 1 second and then you can be sobbing your eyes out another. It's just so amazing and well written and blends in together so fantastically. And the music and everything, it's just... And it's good to know that the cast are genuinely best friends to this day. We love to see that. And it's not a requirement, by the way, but it is nice to know that that exists in some cases. And yeah, I will definitely be seeing it again multiple times. And I just genuinely think that out of all the ones I mentioned on this list, it is the most underrated, because I've not seen enough people talk about it. I know that it's a very popular show, but my algorithm and all that, and people in my life, they've not seen it ever, and I just think that they're missing out. So then number 2 is That 70s Show. It used to be number 1 for a while, but there was another one that pushed it out of that spot. And obviously, obligatory, I don't stand with majority of the cast today, especially not Danny Masterson, of course, with everything that's happened. But this show helped me through some really shitty times in, I don't know, the past 8 years or something like that. 8 to 10 years. I watched it a lot when I was feeling lonely or had a bit of insomnia, when I had loss in my family and I was afraid to sleep because I didn't want to think about death and all that, So that was the show I had on for the loop. And it's about a group of teens who are burnouts in the small town in Wisconsin in the 70s. And, they don't have money to do anything fun, so they just get high in one of their basements. But it is so much more than that. It's also about how they have this little found family going on, as much as they burn each other and prank each other all the time and tell on each other when they could get each other into trouble with the parents and all that. But apart from the main guy Eric, none of them really have a decent family life, so there's also that. But it's definitely a product of its time with a lot of the jokes and all that, but it also tries to parody the 70s. So, it's a show that's filmed in the 90s, set in the 70s. And, I have a lot to say about it, and I will be talking about it, the relationships, the friendships, and all that. But, yeah, it just, for a long time, it was a big source of comfort for me, and that will not be forgotten. I recently finished my 9th rewatch of it, and I know I will be watching it in the future. Probably not anytime soon. Probably will leave it a few years before I rewatch it again. But yeah, it's definitely one that will always be important to me no matter what. But obviously I don't stand for anything that the cast have done. Apart from Topher Grace, as far as I'm concerned, he's good with me. And now my number 1 is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So it's a show that I watched for the first time in 2018, no, 2017, I think. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, 2017-ish. And I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't in love with it. And then me and my fiance watched it during lockdown in 2020, and obviously we both fell in love with it so much. It just, again, it was such a great source of comfort, and it is once again a group of people working as detectives in a police precinct, so it also has like lots of crime solving aspects as well, but there's so much also like commentary about things, but again in a very funny and respectful way. It really has that, again, found family aspect of people who generally enjoy their job, but they also like spending time with each other, and there's lots of, healthy friendships, like healthy relationships. I mean, Jake and Amy are my favorite couple of all time out of everything ever, because they're just so beautiful together, and just the characters in the show, like I would love for them to be my family. Like, I would love to be in that world and be around them, as cringy as that might sound, because they just seem so heartwarming and so nice to be around, and they just have so much love for each other. And it's an amazing show that we finished a rewatch a couple weeks ago, I think, and we'll definitely be rewatching it probably, I don't know, next year or something already, because we always have it on the background as, again, comfort. It's like a warm blanket. And I am very sad that we're not going to get a reunion for obvious reasons, but cancer is a bitch. And so we don't finish on a super negative note there. I still have a few sitcoms that I have left to watch on my list. Certain ones that kind of skipped my radar way back in the day when I was watching lots of them. So I don't know if this will change. I mean, anything that's like past spot 10 kind of changes based on rewatches, based on what I have to say about them and my feelings and all that stuff. But like the top 5 is pretty solid, and like the 5 to 10, 6 to 10, whatever, they're also quite solid. So yeah, it's just I just enjoy humor that can be sort of scalding. I also enjoy offensive humor to a point, but ultimately I really love when a sitcom also has warmth to it, and a bit of hope in it, and happiness and genuine found family feel as well. So that's my vibe. But if you agree with this ranking, if you don't agree with this ranking, if I missed out any of your favorites, please do